The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey folks, welcome to the program. I'm your host, Scotty Roberts. This is my show, the Intrepid radio program. And it's really just a podcast now, since we are not any longer broadcasting over on the radio station. So I got to get used to that. My rote description of the show at the beginning, the rote intro. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the Intrepid program, the Intrepid broadcast, the yada, yada, yada. Welcome. All of those of you who are starting to gather, come on in. If you are not in the chat room, come on over to the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And there you're going to find the gathering of fellow Intrepids. And the conversation will begin very soon. Roger Rabbit, good to see you over in the chat room. Always good to see you, brother. And Michelle Canham Free is here in the chat room. Good to see you, Michelle. They're the only two showing their faces right now. It'll pick up as we go, folks. So come on over and join the chat. All of you that are hanging out there, I see a whole host of you out there. Come on in, join the chat. You are welcome here. And let me say, for this program, if you would like reporting, sir, says JP, reporting, sir, for listening pleasure. And if you are out there and you would like to help support this program, click the little join button down below the window. You'll see 3 ways you can join this channel and throw a little bit of support our way. It ranges from, I think, 99 cents a month to $15 a month, something like that. I haven't looked at it myself for a long time, and I believe that's what it is. You can also go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/Scotty Roberts. And you can join there for as little as $4 a month to support this show. That's all I'll say about that. Thank you in advance for those of you and for all of those of you who do it now. And we're still working on, Rainey and I, trying to get some good locations put together. We have a line on a couple of things where we want to go do some filming and do some additional shows where we can show you some ghost investigations and things like that, and some very cool places. So hang on to your butts, and we'll get that accomplished sooner than later, we hope, this summer. And what else have I got by way of letting you know what's going on? I think that might be it. And we're just going to kind of jump into the show. We talked about meditation in the past. How many of you out there, by show of hands, meditate? Now, I could put my hand up, but it would only be about halfway, because I'm not a very good meditator. I never have been. That's been something that, for me, my mind gets too damned analytical, and it's tough for me to focus on not focusing on anything. And now that doesn't mean I don't do it. It means I don't do it often. Because I get antsy, and I've really got to work at clearing my mind. And I think doing that, there are people out there that do meditate that are in the audience. If you do that, you don't have to go to a special meditation room. You don't have to go anywhere. You can do it right in your own chair. You can do it preferably where there's not a lot of noise. Not a lot of people around. I like going outside whenever I get the chance to do it, which is not as often as I'd like to. Michelle says, my life in the chat room, my life is a walking meditation. And so, yes, you can go walking, go hiking. I know people who hike, and that is how they meditate. They go for hikes in the woods, things like that. Michelle says, I meditate daily by walking in nature. There it is. So there are ways to meditate, but for me, it has always been a thing like saying, I'm going to start journaling now. Now, journaling it can be a form of meditation because you're concentrating on what you're writing down, et cetera, et cetera. But journaling was for me something I've tried to do at several different periods in my life. And I start them in a day or two in, they're done because I just don't think of taking the time to do it. So it is meditation, while it's supposed to be peaceful and calming, it is a discipline. It's something that you set your mind to doing, and you have to set aside the time to do it. It's nice if you can take every day and meditate. But what if you've only got a couple of days a week? Take 10 or 15 minutes. You don't have to meditate for 4 hours or anything like that. It's taking a little time to meditate. And so we've talked about meditation and what it is. I've got a bunch of different things here that I want to talk about tonight about this. And the first one I wanted to hit, this was just somebody's personal account of, I wanted to look into what happens when entities appear during your meditation. Has anybody here who meditates? Have you meditated and encountered entities in your meditation? I know sometimes I've encountered entities in my dreams. Rainey has encountered entities. We've encountered all kinds of entities, the different things we do. And sometimes it's through meditation, but very rarely. Hey, Elderberry, welcome to the chat room. And it's very rare for me because I don't meditate the way I should. So I looked up this particular woman who her name is Rhoda Shapiro. And she wrote in her blog about when entities appear during meditation, my first experience. And I wanted to share this with you. This happened to her almost exactly 3 years ago. And she wrote, the first time an entity appeared during the middle of my meditation practice, I nearly screamed my face off. I was sitting in a chair chanting Om Namah Shivaya over and over and over again. And this mantra is an expression of appreciation and reverence for the Lord Shiva, who is the ultimate consciousness. This is according to her spiritual beliefs. And it translates to, I bow down to Shiva. And bowing down to Shiva is like bowing down to the reality of your deep, authentic self, she says. Now, at the time, she said she didn't even understand the depths of this mantra. She'd heard it on a track and just felt it and calling her. So she sat every day and chanted it for about 10 minutes. Now, I will say this. There's one danger I see in that is she's asking something, she's bowing down to something. Does that open you up? Are you putting yourself under the power of something else by bowing down to it? That's the first thing that hit me, but that's not the point she was making. But she said during one of her sessions, a being appeared. He had red hair and a pale face. His eyes were hollow, yet full of wisdom. His lips were moving as if he was trying to tell me something, but there was no sound coming out, no sound that I could really hear anyway, she says. My shrill scream caused the being to evaporate into thin air. And once I knew it was gone, I was surprised by the disappointment I felt, like I had missed an opportunity. Could you imagine that if you were wanting to connect with something and you were so frightened by the appearance of something that you screamed and scared it away? I don't know if she scared it away, but maybe he thought, this isn't the right time for her. And then you're thinking, oh, I'm disappointed because now it's gone and I wanted the opportunity. And what did he really want to tell me, she asked, and who was he? And she instantly had labeled him evil. But that was just merely due to the fact that she was scared. She got the hell scared out of her, as she says, and his spontaneous visit. And it was only after he was gone that I realized that there was no evil emanating from him. He was simply a being from a deeper plane of existence. a different dimensional existence. Can we connect with that? We're going to touch on some of that tonight. So when we meditate, we're raising the frequency of our own vibration, tuning it to elements that are beyond this earthly realm. And when we do that, on occasion, we might rub up against other energies. We can think of them as entities, as guides, as aliens, displaced souls, spirits, ghosts, deceased loved ones. And these beings radiate at a higher frequency than we do. And as we raise our own frequency through meditation, our energies lock into one another. They kind of find each other, they zone in, so to speak. And then we're able to create a bridge from this world into the next, where it's possible to see into another form of existence, a form of existence that all of us have experienced before life on Earth in this plane. Now, of course, in my old church-going seminary days, we were taught that this is a lie of this of the devil, of Satan, that it's that he appears as an angel of light that is there to deceive, the evil one. So, and I'm not doubting the existence of evil, but do you think Satan really exists? Does that being exist? Is there an individual being that exists? Christianity, Judeo-Christianity, they talk about it. Although Judaism talks about the Satan, an article in front of the word Satan. In the Hebrew, the Satan came and accused Job. There was that story. And it was more of a title. But this woman goes on with her story and says it was a little intimidating at first, but I couldn't help but become insanely fascinated by this sudden encounter. And for weeks, she tried to call him back. And she said she sat in meditation, repeating Om Namah Shivaya, until I was blue in the face, hoping he'd return, but he never did. And I'm sure it was due to all the expectations and pressure that I had brought along with me to my meditations. The biggest thing I learned, she goes on, as I went more deeply into my practice, is that you can never approach with expectations. That'll just kill the buzz right before you even truly get started. That's like, you remember when we talked about the jinn and this professor, PhD actually, who had summoned a jinn because of his intention. And he actually spoke with it and had several conversations with it. What must that be like? Do you ever walk away from that and think, wow, what drug was I on last night? What was I smoking? Did I take too much NyQuil? Was it my overactive imagination? And yet there are other people like Whitley Strieber, who wrote the books Communion and Transformation, and was a horror novelist prior to that. It still is, but most of his books focus around his experiences now. And he wrote the book The Key, where he thought at the end of it, he had to call his wife and tell her, remind me that I'm calling you now and that this actually happened. And he took notes and all of that. Hey, Ryan Gale, welcome to the chat room. Hey, Sarah Youssef, good to see you as well. Randall Flagg. So, and Steph is here. I see somebody saying hi to Steph, so she must be here. So she goes on and says, once I started loosening my grip on all the expectations, I found that I could feel and sometimes see the presence of other beings during my meditation. Again, I had no fear this time. I would see faces. I would hear various forms of communication, and I would just sit in the stillness with it. And oftentimes after meditating, she goes on, I would find the details of the encounter fuzzy, almost like my conscious mind simply was not vast enough to contain the mystery of what I'd just experienced. I would just have these feelings of comfort and bliss radiating within, and that was enough for me. I talked to a lot of people who want some support in how to meditate, she says, without connecting to the spirit realm. They want the benefits of meditation, but they're not comfortable with interfacing with the unseen forces that exist beyond the world. So in these cases, I tell them that before meditation, set an intention and ask that no spirits or beings disturb you. And ask that with love. Ask that with a peaceful heart. And if there's one thing she says she's come to understand more and more, it's that these entities are not actually evil. Evil is something man-made. It's something that exists on this physical plane. It simply cannot be found in spirit, she says. That's her opinion, her contention. I might part with her a little bit on that, and that's for another discussion. But yes, she says some spirits may be operating at a lower vibration than others, but they're not negative, evil presences that want to suck your soul out from the top of your head and do away with you. That description puts it in kind of comical terms, but I tend to think there are evil things that are out there. We'll talk about that another time. But we have to trust that all things unseen, those energies that are holding the foundation upon which the universe throbs and pulses, are energies of love and creativity. Now, we also ascribe love. We ascribe creativity just as much as we ascribe evil. We can create love. We can create creativity. We can create evil. We're all capable of these things. So the big questions when you dig deeper on that particular issue is what can we and can we not? I've never gone along with the new agey type of thinking only because I don't think everything is love. I don't think everything is harmony. I think everything exists and we can tap into it. It's a neutral. And Steph says, "Oh boy, yep, I've had nights like that." Are you talking about meditation? On the stuff we're talking about, I just happened to see that. Field Guy says, "Is sex meditation?" Just asking for a friend. Maybe self-sexuality, Field Guy, would be applicable. I think sex in the right way. I think there can be sexual activity that's probably of a form that's closer to meditation than just, raw wham bam, thank you, ma'am types of sex, or sex for just the raw energy of it and the raw love of it, whatever it might be. So the journey continues to grow richer and richer, she says, each time I sit in meditation. I don't see entities every time I meditate. Of course, every experience brings with it a new story, and that's just the way I like it. And she says she's very grateful for her practice. Namaste. Or as Rocky Stucci would say, namaste, bitches. That's something we came up with on his show several years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So, do you meditate? What is meditate? What is the good? Can you call up entities? Should you be concerned with calling up entities? Are you conjuring? Are you doing something negative when these entities come and you see them and you invite them in? Not into you. You invite them in to commune with you. Is this a negative thing? I wanted to look at some of these things. I've got 2 lists tonight. I've got the 4 things that happen when you connect with your higher self during meditation, and then 10 simple steps to connect with your spirit guides. Now, let me ask you, have you ever researched and looked up what it means to connect with your spirit guide? Are any of you aware of your spirit guides that are listening to this show? Have you met them, so to speak? Have you encountered them? Have you communed with them? Have you spoken with them? I had, and this was before I met Rainey. This is how long ago this is. Doesn't seem that long ago, but it would have to be 20 or more years ago, 20, 22 years ago. I had a couple of big experiences and things going on where somebody had told, a couple of different people said that they were connecting with my spirit guides, that they could see that. One of the men is a good friend of mine who's been in the show before. Carl Mulak had said that he had seen something I think he was the one that said it looked like, and this was confirmed by somebody else unrelated to Carl, some big, almost like a Scottish looking dude, huge, like Viking, Norseman, or Northman, Highlander type with red hair and a big red beard. And it wasn't just Sam, my son, and he's a big man. And that this guy, very gregarious. And he was one of my spirit guides, one of several. And 2 people saw that character. So now I have not connected with them myself. There might be a little trepidation on my part to connect. I believe it, but do I really want to encounter it? Yes, I do. Not yet. I want to encounter Jinn, but I don't want to get scared shitless either. So I want to encounter them in a good way, these things. So let's look at, before I get into the 10 ways to look at your spirit guides, I'm going to look at these 4 amazing things that happen when you connect with your higher self. With you connect with yourself during meditation. And within each one of us, there's a seed of spirit. There's this pure energy that's waiting for us to discover it. And this energy is part of the source. Put a capital S on that word, source, the cosmic consciousness. Biblical scholars of the New Testament, the Logos, the great Greek Logos. It's that consciousness that's been there since our birth or before birth, if you believe in reincarnation. And this energy is also part of your individual's higher self. It's a bridge between you and the universe that's out there, for everything that's out there. Not just the physical universe, the spiritual, the multi-dimensional universe, the multiverse, if you will, in a different sense than Marvel. But it's a bridge between you and the universe. And this seed of spirit is not hidden, but it does need to be cultivated. And you have to build on it for it to come to its full potential. Meditation is a powerful gateway for connecting with your higher self. Now, let me ask you, you say, can anybody do this? Yeah. How many people out there that you encounter do you suppose meditate? Do you think if you meditate and you are meditating, I hate to put it this way, but in the right way, making the right connections internally, what kind of person do you think you will be? Will you become a more evil person? Will you become more selfish, more self-centered, more narcissistic? Or do you think those things will be released as you start connecting to something that is much bigger than us? This is higher self. When you start this mindfulness practice focused on nurturing that connection, that can cause immediate, noticeable changes in your perception of the world. How do we know that we've begun establishing connection with our higher self? How'd you like that? I just pulled a Biden. How do we know that we have begun to establish a connection with our higher selves? Sometimes my mouth goes faster than my brain. So during meditation, how do we know this? There's 4 signs. Number 1, your brain waves change. Now, most of us, we don't really notice that. Or if it happened to us, we might notice it then. It causes your mind to work in tandem with your heart. Our brains produce different brain waves according to our emotional and physical state. Brain waves with different frequencies are always present, but one type will become dominant depending on our activity at the moment. Beta frequencies are associated with everyday activities such as talking, reading, working. On the other hand, alpha waves are associated with relaxation, gentle thoughts, meditation. So when you meditate, you're actually causing a measurable change in the way your brain operates by producing more of these alpha waves. Beta, alpha, gamma. There it is, field guy. Yeah, he's pretty loud about his hairy legs. It's very true. Chuck Thurston says in the chat room, we're part of a bigger whole. I'm the earthly part. And the other half guides me with visions, and it's never wrong. There you go. So, contemporary neuroscientists have discovered that during particularly deep meditative states, the brain is capable of producing entirely new types of brain waves called theta and gamma waves. And so, Field Guy, you were part right there. Gamma waves have been associated with the expansion of consciousness, the unfolding of spirituality. And these deeper meditative states correspond with an area in the brain scientists have termed the higher brain center. Yeah, Chuck, I want to know that too, what Sarah just asked. Sarah Yusuf in the chat room says, Chuck Thurston, let me know if you get lottery numbers. I could use a lottery win right now. That could, money doesn't solve your problems, but it would comfort things. It would calm things down a bit, that's for sure. So at higher self, we refer to this area of the physical location of the higher mind. The higher mind uses the rational brain, but it's not governed by the rationality. It works in harmony with the heart, or the wisdom, the spirituality, not the pumping heart. Boom, 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 boom. It's the heart of the matter, the soul of something. They're connected to the seat of wisdom. And you can apply this wisdom to the individual. This is the heart-mind synthesis that we strive to develop when we meditate. It's a necessary step to achieving our full spiritual potential, becoming one with our higher selves, yada, yada, yada. I could go on and on and on with that. I don't want to get into language that's so sing-songy that we're missing the point here. So let me try to bring it down. Bringing it down. The heart-mind synthesis is imperative to establishing a connection to our higher selves, because the heart and the mind balance each other's energies. Without the heart, the mind lacks the grace of compassion and understanding that's needed to connect and be understood by others. Without the use of the wise mind, the heart lacks critical balance and analysis, which can easily result in different and inappropriate conclusions and actions. So when we Spock it, sometimes that's necessary. But sometimes when doing the Spock thing, we need to also add the bones thing, the emotion, the seeming irrationality of emotional energy. Those things have to balance each other. So what does this mean for meditation? The higher mind is capable of identifying our lower characteristics, like greed or an obsession with power. And not only can your higher mind make these characteristics clear to you, it can also show you how to let those lower energies go by not acting on them. So in other words, establishing connection with your higher self, our higher selves, during meditation, and actively changes the way our brains process thoughts, and it stimulates our higher mind. It establishes the heart-mind connection, giving you the wisdom to identify and release the lower characteristics that are holding you back from a fulfilling life. I sometimes used to wonder, because the evangelical church was against meditation. I remember this in the early 70s when I first became a born-again Christian in a very conservative fundamentalist Baptist setting as a kid. And I've wondered about the need for some religious organizations to blot out people expanding their minds too far. You can't do that. You need to focus on what we're teaching you. You need to focus on the God we're telling you to focus on. You need to focus on whatever it might be that's at the core of your denomination or your religion. And I think in doing that, in telling people that this stuff is bad, there might be underlying that. Maybe it's even a subconscious underlying that they don't want you to expand beyond having a trust and a faith in what they're telling you, the way the world and the universe works. It's just a random thought. I've never put it in those terms before, but it's what I'm thinking as I'm talking about this tonight. So working out and transforming our lower nature is necessary because we're in fact making physical space in our consciousness for higher self energy and wisdom to come in and occupy it. And this is the work of spirituality and self-awareness as we know it, which allows us to access higher realms of inner and outer cosmic spiritual energies and knowledge. That was only number one of what happens during meditation out of these 4 things I've got here. And then we got to move on to the 10 things. But number 2, things fall away. What does that mean? Let me take a drink before we do that. When you are in deep theta and gamma wave meditation, you're in contact with your higher self and your higher spiritual energies. And your thoughts, your anxieties, and the troubles of the day start to melt away, fall off. You might even feel as though you're in the zone. I'm in the zone, a trance-like state of focused relaxation that many athletes have described during some of their best sports performances. So in this state of meditation, you feel the gentle, I hate to put it this way, there's so many stereotypes about meditating that have become almost comics versions of themselves, but you feel a gentle hum of energy. And then there's nothing else. And this cathartic release of our overactive minds is what's been described in many cultures as a spiritual experience, a higher state of consciousness. It's a sensation. It can be, for some people, a sensation of silent emptiness that's best described as a feeling of total freedom. It's a state of openness, grace, humility. You're touching the God within, and it feels amazing. Now, again, hailing back to my church days, we were told that if you empty your mind of something, that you should talk a lot about transcendental meditation in the 70s. But this was bad because you're opening your mind for Satan and for evil to come in. I don't think that's what higher consciousness is all about. Do we claim that we know all this stuff of the universe? No. But I think it proves itself that that is not what it's doing. While there are some who want to teach you not to do it because it wasn't what they wanted you to know from a biblical point of view or a religious point of view. All right. Number 3, you hear or see words and images when you meditate. In a deeper meditative state, you're an empty vessel that's open to receiving images and words. This empty vessel I was just talking about. Is it for Satan? Satan? Maybe it's Satan. Are you opening yourself up for evil or for evil entities? If you're becoming an open vessel to receiving images and words from your higher self, is your higher self satanic or evil? I'm going to get off that. I don't want to beat that dead horse. But there is evil out there. We're leaving that for another time, like I've said a couple of times already. But I think what you're doing, you're opening yourself up to your higher self and messages from the cosmos. What's out there? Who's out there? And is it all on, we think in this 3rd dimensional plane that we live on. What about the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th? All these other dimensions that are out there, multitudes of dimensions. What's coming in from those? But we're open to receiving images and words from our higher self from the cosmos, the dwelling place of higher self. According to Roberto Assagioli, I think it's Assagioli, Assagioli, Assagoli. What's your name? It's an Assagoli. He's the father of psychosynthesis The energies that descend down into images, and images descend down into words. And when you're communicating with your higher self energy, you might see images or hear. And I put quotation marks around see and hear. You might see, you might hear words, not your eyes and ears, not with your eyes and ears, but with your inner senses of seeing and hearing. Dr. Assagioli was one of the first modern scientists that described higher self energy and as a state of higher spiritual consciousness, something he himself experienced during his imprisonment. It's similar to what the 14th century poet Dante experienced during his permanent exile with a death sentence hanging over his head, Dante's Inferno. And he illustrated this inner journey in his Divine Comedy, from the climbing out of the inferno of our lower nature through the transformation, purgatorio, and getting in touch with one's inner wisdom and higher self, and finally the states of higher consciousness, paradiso. And so in this meditative state, you can hear words many times, or even see images with your inner senses of hearing and seeing, exactly as this doc described. And oftentimes these were answers to questions that you bring in your meditations. In some cases, these answers might even point you in the right direction. That's worth further investigation. Number 4, you're inspired to make major life changes. If you're unhappy at your work, if you're thinking of changing your job, undertaking new professional directions, thinking about it. It doesn't really help. You can feel lost and more desperate. You look for change, and the more you look for it. So during a powerful meditation session, you can, where you're connecting with your higher self, you can see images of like medical photography, which lead to investigate the field. And you see that in itself, very exciting. It feels very exciting, and it gives you hope to go in a certain direction to follow. Feeling inspired and curious. You can take a trip to a bookstore. I've done that. I take a trip to a bookstore and I looked up anything I could find on the subject of different imaging techniques that you can use in medicine or science, which in turn leads to investigating medicine and biology itself as career options. This is just I'm giving you an example here if you didn't catch this whole thing about medical imagery. And your higher self can let you know a path to follow. If you wanted to pursue that path, and I'm using medical imagery, let's call it anything else, forestry. Could you be led to finding things and knowing things better, where to look? Single meditation sessions can really set you on a trajectory that change your life in a different direction. So, but you got to be committed to the process. These changes aren't going to happen overnight or in one meditation. It could be the process of many meditations seeking answers, strengthening heart-mind connections to your higher self, accepting some ideas while rejecting others. Using your rational mind can help a lot in devising the right action plan that makes the most logical sense to you. But in the end, it's your higher self that led you to right decisions. You take the right actions to fulfill that destiny. And the more you work with your higher self, the more you're going to recognize this energy and wisdom when it comes to you. With practice, you're going to instinctively recognize in your body the shift in energy when communicating with your higher self. And this state of that energy experience is one of overwhelming joy as you're touching your seat of spirit and a higher cosmic energy and your inner wisdom. Again, all plug words for all of this stuff. But look at it in a way where you try not to think of these in the cliche terms, but in things that's the easiest way to describe what you can accomplish. And after some time, the higher self becomes this new part of you. It's your awareness, and even your intuition starts to develop more. Knowledge of right action and human interactions using more of your heart energies becomes almost second nature, and it's a feeling of freedom and joy. But getting there, like anything else, requires work, discipline, dedication to try to root this stuff out and make it work for you. And there is sometimes you got to take a little bit of caution with some of this. It's important to remember that whatever information you receive in meditation, you have to check with your rational mind to make sure it's not your lower nature influencing your thinking. Does that make sense? You want to make sure it's not your lower, baser, average instincts that are influencing the way you think. You got to check your rational mind. Simply understand that our lower nature can be very strong and influence all aspects of our lives. It already does. If you're not meditating, if you're not seeking to do things on a higher level, it already does. So just as we strive for higher wisdom, it's important to work on and understand our lower nature characteristics, which, if left unresolved, are going to trap us in a false understanding. It's going to keep us from forging genuine connection with our higher self. And as Dante described purgatory in his Divine Comedy, our hell of suffering is our own lower nature. In order to transform those, we need to bring them to the surface of awareness and choose not to act on them. You get that? I've got to uncover it, reveal it, bring it to the surface, then choose to look it in the eye and make it run. Remember when we do tarot, we get the devil card. So the devil card, the real message there is look your demons in the eye and they'll run. I based that interpretation on an old Bible verse. It says, resist the devil and he will flee. I think that's what we do sometimes. We have to do with ourselves. We have to look our shortcomings in the eye, make them flee, and replace them with this higher energy. And you're going to learn a lot about yourself as you try to put this stuff into action. So that was the four things I wanted us to see as kind of a primer for where we're going tonight. These four amazing things that can happen when you connect with your higher self. So I've got some other things that I think are they're a little simpler points than these. And it's very interesting, the places that you can go when you try to connect with your spirit guides. Here's the fun part of this. It's like paranormal investigating on the inner plane, within your mind, within your higher consciousness. Michelle Cannon-Free says, we're divinely protected. Sarah Youssef said, that's very Jungian. You talking to me or are you talking to Michelle? Talking about discernment and so on. I'm looking at what some of you say here. Are saying here, Dr. Ass, a proctologist, S. Randall Flagg. I see that back there. Michelle says, as within, so without. Yeah, we're divinely protected. Well, let's look at something. Have you ever wanted to know? You've had people, I'm sure, tell you, you have your spirit guides. You can ask your spirit guides for, obviously, guidance, for help. But how do you get in touch with your spirit guides? You just call out to them, hey, spirit guides, over here. In Camelot, Saint Genevieve, It's Guinevere, remember me, St. Genevieve, St. Genevieve. I'm over here beneath this tree. She's praying, reaching out to her saint, which is, or guardian angels, which are your spirit guides. Field Guy says, is there such a thing? Field Guy, that's like, are you asking about energy, frequency, vibration, which Michelle said, or about spirit guides? Are there such things as spirit guides? I believe there are. Do I know that fully? Have I fully experienced that? No. I've had people introduce me to them. I've seen them. I've had them communicate with me in one way or another. But I haven't. When John Ward and I you remember when I talk about Egypt and I had that experience? Philip Coppens, the tomb at Hatshepsut's temple, Diyar el-Bahri, and the crying, that whole experience. It was Maria, John Ward's wife, who said she had a vision that there was a young girl stretching her hand out toward me and to John and saying, you're on the right path, but you need to take my hand, she said. And I said, what does that mean? And I think that's where I am with a lot of the meditation stuff and a lot of the stuff of the higher self. It's, am I actually taking the hand? And if I actually did, if any of us actually did, how revolutionary would that be in our lives? Would it be like seeing the face of God, that figuratively it turns your skin bright and your hair white, and I've seen God? Is it that kind of an experience? Only spiritually on the inside? And when you have that, what does that do to us? Does that change us? Does that have us acting on a higher level? Stop speaking in riddles and just speak. That's what I would say, says Field Guy. Yeah. Letting go of self-reliance, says Sarah Youssef. Steph says it's trippy and yet so calming. When you had a shaman, she talks about, that led her in a spirit guide meditation. Did it 2 times a week. It took months for me to get there. I've experienced it. What does that do for us in the long run? Is it something we need to keep and bind it to ourselves so we don't lose? I don't want to lose that. If I get that, where does it go? When I go back to my job, or I'm doing stuff, or I'm hanging out, or I'm doing whatever I do on a daily basis, does that stuff go away? How do you bring in that higher vibration, that higher frequency, that higher self to a spot where it replaces the old and gives the new, and it keeps working on? Whatever level of consciousness we're at dictates what experiences we'll have, said Michelle Cannon Free. Hootie said, I only want to be with you, and the dolphins cry. There it is. Yeah. Michelle says, whatever level of consciousness we have or dictates what experiences we'll have, and hold my hand, Field. There it is. It's the hold, take my hand, this spirit said. So there's 10 steps to connect with your spirit guides. We all have them. And when you cultivate a relationship with your spirit guides, you're going to receive this clear, wise guidance to help you in every area of your life. I used to ask when I would pray back in my Bible school and church days, and there was a verse that we had that was supposed to be the measure by which you'd know if God was guiding you. God is the author, not the author of confusion, but the author of sobriety of mind, stillness of mind. And so I think when there's confusion, It's not of God. It's not of your higher self. There's a peace, I think, that would settle with that. It's important to understand that, because a lot of people say, I don't hear my guides. I don't know if they're there. I don't get support when I need it. And this is a reflection of, is something I think Michelle was saying, and Steph in the chat room, and Sarah. I think that there is a level of, it's a reflection of the level of disbelief or belief and the active not allowing, which blocks the communication. It's like, if I say, you've heard me say before, I want to encounter a jinn. I want to have a good conversation, a good meeting. I would crave that spiritual meeting, but not the evil part. I don't want that. I don't want it to eat my soul or scare me and make me pee my sheets or whatever. But I'd like to have that experience. Yet we don't allow those things to happen to us. We don't allow ourselves to see our spirit guides. We don't allow this higher, because we choose to not believe those things. We live and we exist on the almost two-dimensional realm that we're in. Well, it's actually three-dimensional. So Steph said, I think it's comfort. There's a strange stillness of just being. Field Guy says, ladies make me nervous. Probably chicks too, Field Guy. But I think that the peace comes with not blocking it. Boundaries are necessary for survival, said Sarah Yusuf. Yes, indeed. I may have never had these experiences because I put up certain personal boundaries. It's not that I don't want to experience it. It's that I don't want to experience it in a negative way, and I put the wall up. So I used to say I'm an inertial dampener to spirit activity. But your guides are always they're always supporting you. But they can't come unless you ask them to come. So what are spirit guides? What are they? It's said that we each have an angel on either side of us, Don't do that. Yes, do that. Kind of thing. And we also have guides. Maybe a spirit who's been with us in lifetimes before, an ancestor who can support us, or someone we knew in our lifetime. And these are beings of the highest truth and compassion that are working on our behalf to guide our thoughts and our energy back to love. They're not physical, and they aren't bound by the natural laws of the world. They're spirit beings, hence spirit guides. And we always have a relationship with these beings, but it's up to us to decide whether we want to have a dialogue with them and let their presence be known. How many of you out there, if I said all it would take is you asking and diligently seeking that conversation, that connection, how many of you would be, that scares the pants off of me? I'm not going to do that. So what do we manifest? We manifest it not happening. We put up the block because that shit scares us. So these beings of light, they come in many forms. They have all different kinds of purposes, but their common goal is to help guide us back into alignment with, here it is again, the love of the universe. What are pants, says Field Guy. If you're not wearing any, you'll know exactly what I mean. They're the things you don't have on. So why should we connect with our spirit guides? Why would we want to seek this? Why would we want to do that? Our spirit guides help guide us back into alignment with the love of the universe. When you get stuck in a fear-based thought or a pattern, you can turn to your guides to help lead you back to where you're supposed to be, to love in the new age. It leads you back to love. I shy away from using that language because it's so new agey, babbledy gobbledy goop. But you have to be willing to surrender your fear and to see with spiritual sight. It's like that song, I'm no longer a slave to fear, For I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. For I am a child of God. And it goes on. But I get chills when I sing that. We turn that over. We don't you stop being a slave to being afraid of it. I'm speaking to myself here on this. When you want to receive the guidance of your spirit guides, all you have to do is be willing to surrender your fear and see the spiritual insight. Divine guidance, you could call that. So knowing that there's a presence always supporting you is going to give you unshakable faith and strength. That field guy, a little different. I'm a slave for you. I'll bet you wish Britney Spears was a slave for you, Fieldy. So, how do we experience our field guides? Field guys, spirit guides. That was not Freudian. I do not want to experience field guy. It just came out because of just talking to him. Our spirit guides. How do we experience them? Once you begin inviting in your spirit guides, there's different ways you might experience their presence. Inner knowing. You can experience the spirit guide as an inner knowing of things. You might feel or sense your guide's presence or hear a voice within, like strong intuition or realization. Some people audibly hear or see their guides. You remember when I had that experience when Philip Coppens died, and I cried for days, and I had David Weatherly, shaman, call me up, and he said, sitting here in my office, I heard an audible voice say, called Scotty. He says, what's going on, man? I'm calling. Sparks of light. That's another indicator of a spirit guide's presence. Sometimes there are some people that know their spirit guides are with them, and they see little sparks of light. It's so cool, they say, to see that light. Anybody experience that? To know that there's a presence with you at the moment? Anybody ever experience that? There's an account I read, my Zen den in my former New York City office was filled with their presence. I have a friend whose young daughter liked to go up there because she said that's where the fairies were. Little kids' descriptions of things, of their guides. Because they haven't created the barrier of disbelief that blocks them. My son Flynn, upstairs right now, when he was about 3 years old, he used to talk about being alone in his bedroom at night, and he could see little fish swimming around in the air. That's how he described it. What was he seeing? He wasn't afraid of it. I asked him, does that scare you? No. What was he seeing? How about books falling off a shelf? These are examples. How do you know? How do you experience your guides? Inner knowing, sparks of light, books falling off the shelf. When books fall off the shelf, your spirit guides are the ones who are kicking them off for you. Can't tell you how many people have talked about or even told me at events, and they say that they've discovered either my book or somebody else's book or something we've been talking about because it literally fell off the shelf in front of them. You ever have those kinds of experiences? You can experience this kind of guidance. It's available to you when you connect with it. There's been so many things, if you think about it, that you've thought about and you say, I really need to find this thing or that, and boom, and there it is. Where do you think that's coming from? Another way to experience them is through free writing after meditation. You can experience the presence of a spirit guide through writing. You can call on your spirit guides through meditation. You can follow your meditation. You can free write and allow the voice of your guides to work through you. Connecting to your spirit guides is about learning to rely on the voice of love. The reason these guides are here is to constantly bridge your thoughts from fear back to faith, forgiveness, love, light. They present you with creative solutions and beautiful opportunities. There are some things I have written that I go back and read them, and I was asking for something to affect me, to grab me, to speak to me. And it's like, even like the rollicking adventures of Tam O'Hare. When I go back and read certain passages of that, can I barely get through them. It's digging deep into something that was very meaningful for me in a fanciful book. I said in the opening of The Sword and the Clay, another fictional kids book based on a true story, that some of it was so moving, and I was moved to write certain things because I asked for it. And there were things that just flowed out of me for that book. When we become willing to see a world that exists beyond our physical sight, then life becomes easier. We feel safer. We can access our true power. So here's how you connect. Number one, there's 10 of these. Now 10:04 here. We'll breeze through these. They're pretty short. Then we'll open up some conversation. Get into the habit of asking. That's number one. How do you find your spirit guide? Get into the habit of asking for them. The first step to connecting is to ask for them. When we forget that we can call on a spirit for help, we start to rely on our strength. That's when fear sets in. When we rely on ourselves. We often forget that we have guidance within us and are all around us. And in the busyness of day-to-day life, it's really easy to forget this connection. So the first step is getting into the habit of asking your spirit guides for help. And the more you ask, the more you receive. Period. It's that easy. Number two, make a list of what you need. Make a list of what you need your spirit guides to help you with. Make a list. Write down 5 to 10 things that you need help with. You can take something as simple as this. This. What do you spirit guide? I need. It's a broken pencil. That wouldn't work. What are some of the things you need help with? Take a little list like this. What do I need help with? I need help with first things that come to mind: finances. I need help with relationship issues. I need help with finding happiness. And I need help with what are the things you can think that you need help with? What are the things that we would ask for? This is like asking in prayer for things. I need patience. Not patience as in, I need more patience. I'm not a doctor. Why are you all coming to me? Well, you asked for patience. So, I wrote down 4 things. I just jotted, little quick notes here. Just little quick notes. These are things. Jot some things down. Think about it. Put a little thought into it, a little effort. And say, these are the things I need. Make a list of what you want your spirit guides to help you with. From the biggest things that you need help with. So, once you make the list, your step is to offer up everything you need help with and invite your spirit guides to reveal solutions to you. Meditate on it. Invite them in to lead you. Only call in spirit guides of the highest truth and compassion. That's the third thing. Remember always to call in the guides of higher truth, of compassion. You can do this through, call it a simple prayer before connecting with your spirit guides. Say silently or out loud, guides of the highest truth and compassion, I invite your guidance with these following issues. Boom, 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 boom. Invite them in. It's like saying to the devils, resist them, go away, and they'll flee. It's the same principle the other way around. Ask them to come in and invite the compassion, the truth. You don't want to invite funky guides to the party. You got to be very specific and clear about what kind of guidance you're calling in so you don't get any riffraff coming through. That's the negative side of it. It's like playing at the Ouija board. So as with the human world, there's lots of different characters. We don't always want to invite every character over for dinner. And the same goes with spiritual relationships. We want to open up our consciousness, space, and energy only to the guides of the highest truth and compassion. Don't worry about this too much. You call the shots, so don't fear those other beings. They can't come in without your permission. Watch the way you ask. Next thing is remember that you can call on your spirit guides anytime. You don't have to wait for a problem to crop up. Just call them when you need them. Thank you, guides of the highest truth and compassion, for speaking through me. Maybe you'll even get a name and you can start calling Bob, your spirit guide Bob, or Shirley, whoever. Sarah Youssef in the chat room says, they say never pray for patience. Then God will really send things your way to make you be patient. There you go. Yeah. I'll give you patience. I'm going to teach you patience by all the adversity I'm going to give you and allow to happen. All right, that was all step 1. Step 2, listen. How do you contact your guides? Listen. The way to do this is by meditating. When you meditate, you quiet your mind so you can hear the wisdom of the guidance that's within you and all around you. We have to slow down our vibration to become aligned with the presence of these guides. When we attune our energy to the frequency of love and peace, we can more easily connect to the vibrational message of our spirit guides. Step 3, write with your spirit guides. Write. Once you've meditated, the next step is to write your spirit guides. Open your journal or just grab a few sheets of paper. And at the top, write an invitation to them, such as, hey, thanks, guides of the highest truth and compassion, for revealing to me the solutions to these issues. Thank you, guides of truth and compassion, for revealing me whatever you want me to know. Dear guides of highest truth and compassion, I welcome you to write through me now. Don't possess me. Use me as a vehicle to write something. Thank you for writing through me. Then simply let your pen flow. Just riff off into the page. It's almost like automatic writing. Whatever needs to come through. Ideas, stories, topics, inspired visions, things you might not have thought of on your own will begin to come forward. Don't second guess yourself or edit a word. Just write it. How about that? Have you ever tried that? Your spirit guides might speak directly to you. Prepare yourself for that. You might find in this writing experience that your guides begin speaking to you directly instead of writing in the first person. You might begin writing in the second person. When you channel your guides, they often say, dear sister or dear brother or whatever. Do you know, by the way, the whole time I'm talking tonight, just about, I've got chills going up the backs of my arms and my upper back to my neck. Just thought I'd mention that. I don't know exactly what that is, but I've had that. That's the presence, the feeling you get in the presence of something. Some cases, your handwriting might even change, by the way. You might feel a presence of energy moving through you. That means there's a presence that's working through you to give you direction. That's probably a really safe way to see what you're getting, to see what information you're getting. Step 4, ask for a sign. Your spirit guides can play fun games with you. They like to show you that they're present, so get playful with them. Ask them for a sign. Do you think if something is there to guide you and lead you in a good direction with the highest truth and compassion and love, that they're going to go, watch what I do here? I'm gonna trip them or whatever, They're there. Do you think that they have senses of humor? Does God have a sense of humor? Do angels have a sense of humor? I don't know if angels do. But spirit guides like to show you that they're present. So get playful with them and ask them for a sign. Be prepared, though. It could leave you mildly unsettled where you go, whoa, is that what I think it was? Have you ever asked for a sign before? Have you ever asked but not known whether you received a sign? Could talk about that another time, but how to ask for a sign. You'll be blown away when you start to ask your guides to show you signs. I think it would rock all of our worlds. Step 5, pay attention to the guidance that you receive. It's one thing to ask for guidance. It's another thing to witness it, to really take it in, to relish in the presence that's supporting you. When you pay attention to the guidance you receive, you're letting yourself be aware and wonder of all the love that's around you. It's a big deal. This is a beautiful feeling. It's available when you truly let yourself witness the amazing support that is always with you. The practice of paying attention to guidance is not about demanding things. You don't go around asking, "Where's my guidance? Bitch, where's my guidance?" We don't do that, do we? That gets us nowhere. You can't even get a beer half the time doing that. Most of the time. So instead, you simply allow yourself to be open to the wonder of that guidance. Your guidance might show up in really cool and unexpected ways. Even things we're not talking about. There's so many different ways people have experienced it. Your guidance can show up as a song on the radio. I get that all the time. All the time. I remember when my mom was shot in the chest by her estranged husband. Different story for a different time. We've talked about that before. But she managed to get away from him, drive to the cop shop, went to the hospital, so on. And she didn't know, in recounting the story, she didn't even remember how she got into the van when he's chasing her in the garage around 2 cars, how she got into the van, how she locked it, how she started it, how her keys happened to still be in her pocket. Oh, I think they were still in her hand. And how she slammed it in reverse and drove through the closed garage door, smashing out onto the street, and got away. She didn't remember that. And then that song, who is it? Was it the Oak Ridge Boys or Alabama or one of those? I believe there are angels among us. I believe there are angels among us, sent down to us from somewhere up above. They come to you and me in our darkest hours, and so on and so on, the way the song goes. My mom believed from the moment she heard that song, in the context of it, that that's what she experienced, was her guides protecting her spirit guides protecting her. Our spirit guides often work through other people. They work through doctors, through friends, through children, through strangers. They love to work through technology too. So I've heard. I haven't experienced all this myself. I rely on people who have. Here are 5 signs to look out for. 1, you feel a sense of inner peace and calm. 2, you see repeat signs or symbols. Hey, I just saw something about the the number 2 pencils 4 times today. References to them. What's that mean? You can figure it out. You get sudden insights or inspiration. Whoosh, it just comes in. You feel guided to take specific actions. There's that strong urge. You experience physical sensations. Some people report feeling physical sensations when they receive messages from their guides. Tingles. I've been having tingles all night talking about this. What do you think that means? Is it psychological? Is it spiritual? Everyone's experience of receiving messages from their spirit guides is unique, and what's most important is to pay attention to the signs and messages that resonate with you. Maybe I'm getting the tingling because I talked about I don't do this enough. And I've got spirit guides who have communicated with me in the past. Interesting. Number 6 is stay in an energy of gratitude. Thank your guides. Rather than being in a place of neediness, you want to be in a place of gratitude and appreciation for their guidance and their love. Shift the way you talk to your guides. If you find yourself thinking like, guides, why haven't you given me this yet? Or guides, I don't believe in you. Why haven't you shown up for me faster? Rubbing that rabbit's foot as hard as I can. You're showing your distrust. Now, does all of this, by the way, the thought occurs to me, can all of this apply to our religious beliefs, our spiritual beliefs, our denominational religion? Sure. Same kind of thing. So your gratitude keeps your relationship strong. When you open your heart to offer your guides gratitude and appreciation, they boomerang that energy right back to you. Step 7, release the outcome and trust in the plan better than your own. Your guides have a plan that could be better than yours. They're loving and wise. They want to bring you to the right relationship, the right career, the doctor you need, the experience that's going to help you. Sometimes we get in the way of that guidance. You ever obsessed over things, how they should go, and try to manipulate outcomes to get what you thought was best? Inevitably, that's the thing that pushes your guides away. When we let go of our plans, trust in a plan, that's the hardest thing for me to do. I'll be very honest, is letting go. We have to release outcomes in order to truly be co-creators with our spirit guides. Michelle says, yes, have faith in the divine plan. Mustard seed is all you need. You have faith of a grain of mustard seed, Jesus said. You can say to that mountain, be moved, and it will be. Step 8, be more childlike. If you have children, like I do, I've got 6 of them, kids in your life, you may be aware that many children can still see their guides when they're very little. They may even speak about them. Usually around the age of 7, the veil starts to close. It shuts down. It pulls down. We shut down to this guidance system. And to lift that veil, we reconnect with your guides. There, I'm just getting chills, fresh chills right up the backs of my arms. Be more childlike. Reconnect. On the word reconnect, I got that. Is that a message for me, do you think? You can do things that bring you joy. Jump on a trampoline, ride your bike, go for a run, paint, swim, cook. Joy is the most powerful vibration we can embody. Step 9 of 10, ask your spirit guides for their names if you feel called to do so. You don't have to do this step, but if you feel, this is where it kind of lapses into that, it almost feels like paranormal research. But if you don't have to do it, but if you feel called to ask your guide's name or multiple guides' names, ask. Reveal it. Carl Mulak gave me this long, it wasn't for the Scottish guy, it was for this long Native American name. And I don't remember it to this day. But the first name that comes to your mind is going to be the name of your guide. Even if it sounds strange, you can trust that what you hear is correct. Trusting your relationship with guides is extremely important. When I was doing that counseling 30 years ago, remember the Captain Kirk story I told you? That was the first thing that popped into my head, and it was so bloody accurate. But I laughed when it first came. Why am I seeing Captain Kirk? There was a reason for it. Number 10, trust in your own psychic ability. Believe in yourself and in your capacity to call on this presence. If this is a natural thing for us all to be able to do, we all have that ability. We heard that, we're all psychic ability to different degrees. Are we beings that this is what we would naturally do? We just have to connect with it. Trust in your ability to connect to your guides. And then trust in your own psychic ability. They're not only going to support you, but they're going to help you help others. Maybe that's not what you're out to do, but that'll be a fringe benefit. You can be a light in the world. So connect with your guides. You have to ground yourself after connecting with your spirit guides. Stomp your feet to the ground. I used to walk around. I'd smoke a cigarette and walk around barefoot outside. I did that without knowing that's what I was doing, and somebody else told me. Chip Coffee told me, you walk around barefoot because that's how you are connecting, grounding yourself. Sit on a rock, feel connected to the earth. Take time to sit in stillness, drink a cup of tea, eat a snack, coffee, soda, whatever you drink. Zip up your energy. Imagine there's a zipper at the bottom of your feet. Zip it all up over your head and back down to your ankles. Mentally, of course. And connect with your spirit guides regularly. There you go. We'll talk about more of this because I've got some different topics connecting with the spirit realm. And these are for myself too. How to know you're hearing spiritual guidance. Angels, guides in the afterlife. How spirit connects through our dreams. All of this stuff. Very interesting stuff. So there you go. Call in if you want to call in. But let's take a 2-minute break. Well, not even. Maybe a minute break, and I'll be right back. Everybody, there's no radio audience to dismiss. I'm just going to give you a bathroom break right now. And we'll be right back. Here we go.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid radio program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Dave, I love you, brother.
I miss you too.
I miss you too, I heard.
Yep,
Did you guys hear that?
I heard that.
I miss you, Dave. All right, folks, we're back. Welcome to the captain's cabin. It's about 10:30. It's 10:27. So we'll go for a little bit, and we'll be done for tonight. I want to thank everybody for sticking around who stuck around. tonight. It's always nice to have everybody here. And of course, you can catch this show tomorrow in its archive form over on my YouTube channel, right here on YouTube. So come on over if you missed any of it. You can see it here. So how's this stuff grip all of you? What are your thoughts? Some of you are giving thoughts in the chat room. But if you've got some things to say, come on and call in. Once again, here is the, whoops. That's not just, I just pasted a whole thing in there. Let's copy it. Here's the link. You can copy this link and put it in your browser window, and you will end up right here in my studio window. So Michelle Cannon-Free says, we don't grow old and stop playing. We stop playing and grow old. There's truth to that. What else we got in here? Grounding is amazing, says Michelle Cannon-Free. Grounding is amazing. Line up, kids. Come on, kids. Come and get your own. Grab that link. And boy, JP was quiet all night. Maybe he's doing other things. The message is always there. It's just our willingness to listen, says Sarah. Tell Zion to go on a diet. I don't know who Zion is, but I thought there was something Israeli connected, but I guess not. There's JP. I guess he was listening. How you doing, brother?
What's that old adage? Speak of the devil and he shall appear.
Speak of the devil and he shall appear. There I am in the midst of you. So, how's it going?
Oh, it's going. Just slowly unpacking and trying to figure out where I'm going to be putting everything, because it's a totally different layout, and it's one of those things where you may have a similar volume, but you don't necessarily have a similar arrangement of said volume. So, yeah. Currently been working on the kitchen. That's a fun one.
Always, because there's so much junk to put back into it. So, yeah, my kitchen drives me insane right now. So, I hate opening up the refrigerator door and having something just tumble out on me. Today, it was...
unfortunately, we don't have that problem.
Leftover spaghetti. Yeah, you don't have three kids and another adult. But...
well, I haven't gone grocery shopping yet, so...
Oh, there you go. So there was something I was going for, the Parmesan cheese, which was, when I saw it yesterday, it was in the front. Well,
now I have to stop you. I have to stop you real quick and ask a question.
Powdered.
Okay. All right. You knew where I was going with that.
Graded 2. We get the graded 2.
You knew I was going to say, ask if I have a proper block of Parmigiano Reggiano, or is it yield powdered brand? Yeah,
we do that sometimes. Depends on how highbrow we want.
It's all right. It's great.
When we're feeding the kids, powdered. Sometimes we go highbrow, but I was reaching for it, and I thought yesterday I'm doing leftover spaghetti at lunchtime today, and I reach in and I go, oh, it's not, and I do things by rote. Because I put something there and I'll go, yeah, well, where is it? It's not there in my hand. And then I found it tipped over on its side way back behind the milk cartons and the mayo and other things. And I thought, damn it, who put that there? And so I reached back in there and I'm trying to pull it out. I should have just taken out mayo and taken out the milk cartons and the orange juice so I could get all the way back, shoulder deep, into the back of the fridge, grab the thing and pull it out. No, I tried to do it over the top of everything. And I knock down the mayo. The mayo gets the big container full of leftover mashed potatoes and gravy, and hits that. Whoosh, and as it's flipping through the air in almost slow mo, I'm going, no, don't fall and hit the floor.
Too
And of
late.
course, it fell and hit the floor. Splock. And I didn't lose a lot of it, but then then you notice how one misstep that takes a split second can cause you 10 to 20 minutes of cleanup time.
Yep.
So that's what I did there.
If anybody needs some spirit guides right now, it's me. And trying to get all of this stuff sorted. That's
yes. So
I feel that this might be more one of the categories of like Sarah was mentioning earlier. Don't ask God for patience.
Yep.
He will test you.
And it's learning how to. It's like, you'd think God would know what you're talking about, because there are times you go, I know I asked for patience, but you know what I meant. I didn't mean this.
Well, but that's the thing is, God knows exactly what you're talking about and what you're asking about.
I don't need patience. I would never ask for
more
patience.
Of what it really is, and I think people don't think of it in this way. And I had a conversation years ago with someone that kind of put things in perspective.
Patience off my list.
It's when you ask for things like that from God, it is and then it feels like you're not getting any relief from what it is.
Mm-hmm.
He's developing you. He's putting more stress on you. And it's one of those things where, there's a lot of things now in life where, I probably would have gotten really, really, really stressed out, and really, really just frustrated, worried, et cetera, et cetera. But like things like, and I constantly bring these up, I know, but, 2 deployments, it's very stressful. And when you go through those kinds of things, it changes your perspective. It works that muscle to be able to deal with stress and problems. When you go through those things, it's like, okay, you want more strength and patience. We're going to test that patience because we're going to work that muscle. I'm giving you a gym session. I'll see you again tomorrow.
There you go. Yep.
And eventually, once you get past it, something stressful of the same stress level comes up on your plate. I got this. I already know how to deal with this. So, when people ask for patience or strength or things like that, they should maybe word it different and like, God, help me tap into the strength and patience that I have to get through this. Because, you want more of something? We're gonna. Here we go, man. It's gym day. Let's go. Let's get it on. We're going to get you tough.
Hey, Sarah.
What's going on, Sarah?
Hey. Keep going, Jason.
Oh, that's about all I was going with it. Otherwise, I would just sit there and repeat myself, as I sometimes do. So,
no.
Talk in circles about the same thing. Yeah.
What's on your mind, Sarah?
I was just saying,
what's in your wallet?
Thinking about the topic, of course, and
yes.
How it kind of applies, and you both are hit the same points that that I am experiencing in my life, but it's like why?
Yes.
It's
usually God is somebody who loves you, right?
Mm-hmm.
puts you through the ringer for what? Just to prove that we love God back, or whatever.
Well, that's one of those things that is, God loves gently, but also God loves toughly. And
it's parental love. You have to
parental love.
Can I that's one of the character building and move into the wealth building, please?
Right. Yeah. you know, and it's also one of those things of if you don't learn from the past, you're destined to repeat it.
Oh yeah.
But you know, and once again, a military comparison of some sort. There's a lot of people out there who bitch and moan and gripe and complain about like, oh, kinder, gentler army. We're going to softer military. We're doing all these things.
Armies don't need to be kind and gentle.
They don't, and to a certain extent, they're wrong. In some ways, they're right because there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Sure.
And if you can find a way to do it, you know, and be as effective, that's different. Maybe not as abrasive, but I tell you, like my drill sergeants, NCOs that I had, even myself with my own troops later on, you know, when they came down hard, it wasn't because they hate you. It wasn't because they're trying to make your life miserable. It's because they're trying to build you up. They're trying to break the bad habits. They're trying to instill discipline. They're trying to teach you those tools that will forge you in that crucible of stress into a more solid, capable individual.
Mm-hmm.
And people are just like, oh, it's hazing. Like, no, dude, they're stressing you out to the max. They're tearing you down and they're building you back up because you're going to be stronger. You're going to be more capable. You're going to think more clearly and be more decisive rather than indecisive and things like that. And we need that.
Yeah.
We need that a lot. So that's where they're wrong. Really wrong in a lot of ways when they're saying, well, we need to stop being no, let them keep doing things the old way. Maybe, you know, not the really old way where they could put hands on you, but you know,
right.
It's one of those things where it's like it comes from a place of love and wanting you to be able to do what you have to do. Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, God is the world's biggest drill sergeant.
Pretty much.
Yeah. You will develop character in the next 10 Marine Corps God seconds. 9, 8, 6, 4, 2. You're done.
What happened to 5? Just kidding.
It also, also applies, we were talking about, the ability to listen. Like in your case, Jason and Scotty, it's like a civilian versus a militaristic mindset. They're completely, they listen and exist in two different ways, right? I mean, you were changed once you entered, basic training than, average Joe. But
yeah, I didn't enjoy it.
For me, it's like, I constantly have to relearn how to listen. Be like, okay, I finally, things kind of slowed down. I've got this, and then it's like everything goes pear-shaped upside down again. I'm like, what happened? I thought I got this. It's
years developing the art of looking you right in the eye and nodding and responding and not hearing a single word you ever said. I spent many years developing that gift before I found out, hey, I think I need to concentrate better, find a better way to do this. So,
yeah. And I mean, and that's what meditation kind of does. It's sort of like puts the focus to a pinpoint because we are constantly surrounded by stimulus and stimuli, stimuli, and it's like everything needs attention, and everyone needs a part of you. You feel like you're being ripped into 10 different ways till Sunday, and just for me, the ability to I have a hard time having the ability to meditate itself. The traditional.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, it's sit still and clear your mind. My thoughts go through my head like a ping pong balls in a windstorm, like in a tornado. And it'd be nice to, just empty out everything and just be able to focus.
Jason, what do you got? behind you that's blinking. There's a little white light that's blinking. If you turn to
Back
that
over
direction.
there.
Yeah.
That is that is a light bulb on its left
Oh.
neighbor's garage.
Oh, okay. I'm just watching this as we're talking. I'm like, what am I seeing back there?
It's not an angel or
It's not an
Sorry,
angel.
it's
I didn't think it was an
or
angel.
it's not it's not a UAP.
yeah.
To be honest, I didn't think it was anything like that. So
Well, I would imagine the skies are much more light polluted where you are now than when you were back in the old place, right? So
Yeah, there was a fair amount of light pollution in Grand Forks, but there's definitely more here. But I'm also in the suburbs, so I'm not down in the city. So, eh,
meh. So I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be very honest. I'm running out of conversational steam. But and what do we got? It's only 10:43. So I might call it a little early tonight because I got nothing left to go on. I think I shot my wad for the first hour and a half. So
well, I mean, I do have one question.
Ask
So,
away.
you were saying like throughout the show that you were feeling chills and you
Yeah.
felt something.
Which have stopped completely.
Well, I mean, you're not talking about it anymore.
Right.
So, you were feeling chills and all that stuff. So, what does that mean to you? Because, I mean, is that enough to initiate a change?
I think it means to me. I think if I've always said this to Rainey, I say we believe these certain things, but then we don't act like we do.
Right.
Which was one of my gripes in Christianity and church work.
Mm-hmm.
We all say we believe things, but we don't act like we believe them. But we say them. So when I feel things like that or experience things, I say, now, if I really believed what I say I believe about things, what would be my reaction? My reaction would be to say, that's something trying to get my attention. That's an attention getter. And the fact that it has stopped and I didn't notice it had stopped until you mentioned it again is that it was only happening during the times where I was talking about how spirit guides get our attention. And so I would say, and chills, by the way, have always been an indicator for me of a spiritual connection of something, be it an entity that has tried to connect with me, or that I experienced in some even a paranormal ghost hunting type of setting, and I can relate a story, and that chill will come up when I talk not so much about the event, but about the personages that might be involved in the event. I talk about when that entity I felt was putting its arms around. Jesus, it just happened right now. Right down the outs of my shoulders and backs. I started to tell you, like that time where I prayed and I reached out to that entity in Egypt that had connected with me. I said, look, if you can offer protection. And I felt like the arms of the statue around and the chin on the head. And now I started talking about that just now.
Mm-hmm.
The chills were immediately back. What does that tell me? Because I'm not thinking I need that chilling experience. What's that?
Resonant energy or presence, because
it's an energy and
your
a presence.
mind was taken back to that particular spot, that particular state, so you felt that again.
Yeah.
So we're all building different types of energetic constructs. So.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me that I experienced it just now. You know what that tells me? Something's connecting. So,
and then it's up to you to nurture that connection if you want. It's like people say,
you don't want to let that go.
Like
you want to keep that roll. Okay, let's roll with that. Let's roll with that. Keep it coming.
Yeah, but another important point was like any field, whoever goes into it deeply, but especially in the paranormal field, when it comes to dealing with entities, assuming that we have connecting, interconnected in with higher beings and states and all that. we have to have an extreme knowledge of self. So if we had a thought into our head, you have to have the ability to recognize, is that coming from me or is that coming from an external source?
Right.
So a lot of, people don't really talk about that.
And I ask myself that question an awful lot. Is that external, or is that something my overactive imagination is making up?
Right.
So
I
I've
mean, if
asked
like,
myself
all of a
that a
sudden
lot.
you feel angry, or you're about to feel into a bout of rage, or
Right.
the polar example, are you
Right.
mad because something is going on, or is it external? And
Yeah.
with any entity and stuff, it's like you're meeting a stranger. So we have to be not defensive, but careful about it.
Right.
And
Right.
what sort of messages are these entities trying to give us? If it's an overly negative message, then you would be wary, versus a positive versus a more positive message where you would have to learn to trust that particular feeling or energy or whatnot. And if you not did what it said, but applied that into your life and you had a positive effect, you're more likely to trust that feeling again, right? And then like any sort of relationship, you earn a certain amount of trust. It can go either way.
Yes.
With betrayal and all of that, assuming that if these entities are as much human like, because I would make an assumption that the way they would connect to us is through our humanity, rather than because there's more than just the physical, spiritual. More than just the physical world. And it's like you were saying, you made your list of stuff that you want. Those are all earthly things.
That was a dummy list. It was just a
no, but I'm saying
let me quick jot down a couple of things that
they think about the earthly things versus what's coming tomorrow, or afterwards. If we it's like you're planning to go on a big camping trip and you don't have a tent,
right
or anything prepared, no food. You don't know what you're gonna be facing into the unknown, right? Because
yes,
assuming that is going on. But
I get it.
Yeah, everything is you take with a grain of salt. And I really like that analogy that you did. Reaching out. Reaching out it's like doing a Ouija board session.
It really is.
You never know what you're gonna get. You could get a positive experience or a negative experience. It's it's like you're opening the door to your house and then telling everybody, "Come on in."
All these supposed biblical prohibitions against conjuring and sorcery and all that. There is a verse that says in the New Testament says, "Test the spirits to find out whether they are evil or of God."
Right. And, they say that to test them, he says you ask them to praise God. Like a dark entity would not do that.
I will share this. I don't know. I may have told this story once before, a long time ago, but my first wife, we're talking way back in the mid 1980s. In 1985, we were, think about that. That's 40 years ago. We're sitting and trying out a Ouija board. And we had it on our laps between us I was told I was more effective, and we're doing the planchette thing. And we had something that connected with us, and it was pretty profoundly strong, giving strong answers to things.
Strong meaning in a
direct answers to things. And it was leading us to believe we were connected with a spirit that was of a young Irish woman who had died on the streets of New York in like 1905 or something like that. Horse-drawn carriage ran her over. We're getting all this information being given to us. And I said to my wife at the time, and now I was in ministry at this time, and I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to ask it some of the ministerial questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, and I said, it gave us a name, and I won't speak the name. I don't want to invoke
Right.
it. But it gave us its name, short 3-letter name. And I said, so, I said, who are you really? And when we weren't asking questions, it was going, our fingers are falling in a figure 8.
Mm-hmm.
And it immediately went up and it spelled out DEMON and then back into the figure 8. And by this time, it was no longer drifting over letters. It would go to a letter and it would circle it and then go to the next one and circle it and so on. And now by this time, my wife, who was you could say she was rather sheltered. She was raised in a very Baptist family, very not a lot of experience in the world. And she was crying. I want to stop. I want to stop. I want to stop. She was saying while she's crying. And I said, no. I said, we're good. Just keep it up. I want to ask a couple more questions. I found I was almost obsessed. I was drawn into it.
Right.
And there was one point where I asked, I said, there's a biblical verse that talks about there would be a day. It's in the book of Revelation, I think, a day where all creation would have to bow its knee to the Son, the Lamb of God. And I said, tell me something. I said, if you're a demon, I said, there is, and it's going in a figure 8 while I'm asking this. And I said, there is somebody that the Bible text says you will have to bow your knee to someday. Who is that? And it went from the figure 8, it kind of paused, and then it started going in a big circle. And then I said, answer the question. And it goes back and it spells out CANT. And then it goes back into the circle. Can't, it said. Answer the question. And so then I, at that point, I said to my wife, I said, okay, I'm done. I'm satisfied. And I took my hands off and she did. And she's crying. And it wasn't until I stopped that the fear overtook me.
Yeah.
And I went, whoa. And I took the thing, I took the planchette and I broke it up in pieces and I tore the board in pieces and I threw it out in the outside garbage. So I didn't want to have one of those weird, freaky tales and I threw it out in the garbage and there it was on my table when I got up in the morning.
Well, I mean, just doing that is not enough to break the connection.
I know. And I don't think I ever did break the connection. And it took probably a long time to do that. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But yeah, that was pretty much it. So, making connection with it was like, it can be like that. And if you're not careful, you don't know what you're calling in. And if you're careful, you don't know what you're inviting in to stay. And I've gotten into the habit of whenever I even do ghost hunting now, it's like when we leave a property, I'll go, hey, you got to stay here. You can't come with. And we do a little incantation and kind of thing. Not incantation.
Since you brought up that story, will you do something now to break that connection?
I think I've done that over the years several times. I've broken that connection. I don't think it's something that still lurks with me. I really don't. So I couldn't point to a specific time I did it, but that was 40 years ago, and I've been doing this stuff for 40 years. I'm pretty sure somewhere along the way.
Well, I mean, time is irrelevant in that realm. So
yeah.
So here's a thought. Are there things that you do in your life out of habit, or it's a constant kind of, make the same mistake sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That has seemed to have picked up since that time?
Like
you
your
start
tarot?
thinking,
Well, I'm thinking more like negative habits in general.
Oh,
Like, it's like you keep making the same trip ups. Why do I
like
keep doing
my
this?
serial killing. That hasn't picked up any since the 80s, so I'm on a pretty even keel on that.
But I mean, just like when you're examining things, like it has
Yeah.
something left. Little influences could push you one way or the other to easily slip back into the same behavioral patterns.
Exactly.
Yes. I'm trying to think of anything specific. I think I'm a pretty self-evaluation. I think I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I don't think I'm very complex. I think I'm awfully damn simple.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think the state of Wisconsin thought you needed to go to anger management.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You don't want to see me angry. I told the judge. No, I didn't tell the judge that.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And so,
God, it's Lou Ferrigno. Yeah.
what?
I said, look out, it's Lou Ferrigno.
Oh, yeah, really. So, yeah, I can't think of anything offhand, but there have been things that it's interesting. I've had no less than 4 separate people, and I've mentioned this only one time before, but 4 separate people, all about 20 to 25 years ago, in that little range of time, tell me there's something. I had somebody do it on a phone. Somebody was doing kind of not a psychic reader for me, but a good friend who was a psychic was talking to me about psychic activity, and they stopped. We're talking on the phone, and they go, "What the fuck, dude?" I go, "What?" And they said, "Over your left shoulder, there is something there. It's a black presence. It's been there since you were a child." He said, "Maybe inherited." And, it had me going, I don't see nothing. But, and it prevents you from doing this or getting ahead or doing that. I had no less than 3 other people tell me the same exact thing, that we're not in communication with this person. They didn't even know who he was. I didn't share that information. And I got that from 3 other people.
Yeah.
All within a period of about a month there. And I'm like, what are you people, freaky people, all talking about? And then I had some other guy, one of the 4, he said, it's gone now. He says, that's a weird ability I have. He says, I don't practice it. I don't do anything. I don't know where it comes from. He says, but I get in connected with somebody who's in this kind of situation. Suddenly, my whatever I've got drives it away. He says, clears it. He says, I think it's gone. And but that's the last I've really delved into that. So there are things. I don't think it was from the tarot reading, or I'm sorry, the Ouija board. Because it was 3 of these people said this is hereditary. And I said, oh, well, that's interesting. How far back does it go? Way back, hundreds of years. Okay, well, that's interesting. What was I? My family line cursed? What was it? So that's a totally different topic. But so no, I don't know of anything overt that are things that I do that come out in my behavior. Maybe there is, I don't know, sloth, the deadly sins, gluttony.
Well, I mean,
We all wrestle
traditional
with those.
religion, and we were kind of talking about that a little bit in the chat earlier. You know, there's a reason why they get so uppity about this particular topic, especially with meditation.
Yeah.
In that, divination, meditation, anything that's supposed to divert your mind away from God is considered, bad.
Right.
The loss of focus. It's loss of focus. Because most traditional religions, even in Christianity, they say that you should love God more than you love your family, or more than all that
Excuse me.
other stuff. other stuff,
Excuse
which seems unimaginable to a rational mind.
Yes.
Right? But if it's something has come up, even now, it may be something that needs to be addressed, right? Things come up for a reason. Why
Maybe.
came up into your mind because we were talking about it.
I got no chills over that one, so
Well, I
who
mean,
knows?
it comes out, but whatever messages, it's all going to be based on our ability and willingness to listen.
Sure.
It's like that.
And do you
when we
know?
were talking about earlier about that vision, or Maria's vision of
Yes.
the child offering the jewel.
Mhm.
To me, that sparks of trying to reduce the amount of because we're in a culture right now completely of self-reliance.
Yeah.
Pull up your own bootstraps and get things done.
They're
And
almost there. You just need to take my hand. You haven't taken my hand yet, she said.
right. So I mean, that could be applied to Jesus. That could be applied to
Sure.
whatever people believe in.
Buddha,
And
yeah.
you can see, especially for me and my own anxiety issues, it's like I'm trying to control everything around me, just trying to get
Talking
through
about
this
my
life.
wife right there.
Yeah, just trying to get through this life. And there comes a point where I said, okay, I have to put my hands up. I said, I'm hands off.
Yes.
I'm going to drive myself insane. I'm going to become self-destructive if I continue in this destructive pattern.
Yes.
And they reach a point for me, trying to learn these lessons over and over and over again, in different ways, in different, whether it's relationships or family or, whatever.
Right.
But we reach a point where it's like, okay, I've had enough, and then let things take care of itself, or not itself, but, put them in the hands of God. God will take care of it. I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
So,
and on that note, I think we're going to wrap it tonight. There's more to talk about here. Certainly. We might stay on this general area of topics this week and hit some other things. It would be a nice
change.
So. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Sarah, thanks for being here.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for your input.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Jason, thanks for being here, brother.
Always a pleasure.
Good times. Talk again
soon. All right. Bye.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate your presence here. Means a lot to me. Means a lot that you'd put the time in. And that's all I got. You have a good night. See you again Wednesday. Live long and prosper.